All right. Welcome to episode 8 of the For My Dogs podcast. This is a podcast that exists to talk about what it's like to be a man in today's world and to highlight that we can't do it alone. We need other men in our lives who are going to push us, make us better, and that we can talk to, that we can trust. And that's what this podcast is seeking to push men towards, is to create a space for vulnerability and friendship among men. And we have the honor of having a special guest on today. I'm going to let Johnny introduce him for us, but I got my dog Johnny here.
Hey, everybody. And yes, we have a new guest. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Cole Tillett, everybody.
Oh, my goodness.
How you doing, Cole?
Nice.
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for that introduction. I'll do my best to live up to it.
You have the beautiful painting behind you of Hawaii. Just giving
I know my girlfriend's grandma actually painted that for us. It was a gift. It's very
awesome. No, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
For to the listeners out there, Cole and I, his girlfriend and my wife, we went to grad school together at the famous ECU, who actually won this weekend.
Hey, they did win.
Yeah, they did win. Yeah, we can celebrate small victories. Because I cannot.
Your other team didn't.
Hey, but Tucker, I appreciate you wearing red and black for me today. You know,
well, that's not
what
this is.
Yeah.
But
hey, I'm still supporting.
Zach Ryan. Gotta support the dude.
Yeah. Hey, Cole's girlfriend is from Athens.
She is.
So
her whole family dogs fan.
Oh yeah, I didn't tell you about that, Tucker. That you're about to get teamed up.
Sorry,
but yes.
Well, I mean, it's not like you can talk a lot.
Hey, easy. Okay, listen. Whatever happened in the beginning,
the first half,
in the first half,
30-7.
I'm not going to blame anybody, Mike Bobo, but the first half was awful. It was never. It was awful. But second half, we finally showed up.
Gosh.
I mean, Bama has a 17-year-old on their team, and he was killing us.
Yeah.
And
I thought y'all were going to pull it off. Like, I thought you were going to win.
No, we did. And then they just throw that bomb. But that's what we were doing in the beginning. We were throwing bombs in the beginning like we were trying to be on Sports Center top 10. And I was like, what are we doing right now? But, hey.
Well, I don't know. He just forced that last throw. I was like, it was like first or second down. You didn't have to go for it.
No. But you know what? I don't want to talk about it. It happened. We are not perfect. You know what? And because of this, I knew you were going to bring this up, so I decided I would bring it up first. You're welcome. You're now above Georgia for once in the top 25 ranking.
Yeah. Oh, man. I actually wasn't going to bring that up.
Okay.
But so we were playing golf. I was at a bachelor weekend this weekend. We were playing golf, and, I was trying to watch some football yesterday, and, Kentucky beat Ole Miss right after I got on here and talked about how, Kentucky isn't a tough team.
Yeah.
But listen, you guys playing the way you did last night just further proves my point.
But
because
no, it doesn't.
Because yes, it does. Just because they beat Ole Miss, listen, Ole Miss overrated. They haven't played anybody all season. Their first 4 games were just jokes. And then they play Kentucky, should have won. The only reason Kentucky scored that last touchdown is because their tight end caught a fumble and ran it in.
Yeah, that was crazy.
They should have lost that football.
That was crazy.
So Ole Miss, bad.
Wait, pause.
Kentucky.
Who did you have in top 5 that you said was going to be really good this year?
Yeah,
Ole
okay,
Miss.
Preseason, but it doesn't matter. Now that now that it's going, it changes.
Yeah.
I had Georgia as my number 1. And look how that's turned
The
out.
season had just started. You play Bama and Kentucky and Georgia, so easy.
Anyways,
can we all agree though? Can we all agree that VT should have won that game?
Yes,
and that was not Miami. And the fact that Miami only went down to 8 after there were 7, and Ole Miss went down to 12 instead of 6, like Miami should be at least 11 right now because they definitely did not win that game.
I mean, there was no way there was enough video evidence to overturn that. That was crazy.
No, I know. It was insane.
Like, even if they would have called it incomplete, I would have said the same thing. Yeah. And I was actually shocked they called it a touchdown on the field.
I mean,
but to reverse it,
to reverse it with, I mean, it was home field, so it is what it is, But hey, ECU, Cole is from Greenville,
Dude.
so he's a big
Go
ECU.
Pirates.
Go Pirates,
I
man.
couldn't even tell you what the name of the team was that we beat.
They were the Road Runners.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
UTS. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, but listen,
Thank you.
we got a W. UNC lost too. I mean,
I know.
like
That was
all of our teams
crazy game.
lost. Did NC State win?
Yeah.
heck,
They did.
Okay,
They
there we
did.
go. So we got ECU and NC State holding it
NC
together.
State won. Yeah.
Goodness. Dang,
But
but
back to what I was saying, you guys playing how you did against Alabama.
it
just
wasn't how we
so-
normally play. We haven't played that way against
Well,
any other team.
You gotta let me finish.
I'm not.
You
I
guys
don't want you to finish.
playing the way you did, and then because last week your argument was, oh, like Kentucky's a tough team, that's why we had a close game.
Okay.
Well, but judging off this game, no, you guys are just bad,
Oh,
and so Kentucky's not a tough team, like I said.
I cannot
And
wait.
Ole Miss is just overrated. It all comes full circle.
Here's what's gonna happen. On episode like 15 or whenever that Georgia plays Tennessee, I'm going to get this and I'm going to post it. I'm going to replay this. You saying Georgia's bad after we beat y'all. That's all I'm saying. Is that time will tell.
We'll see.
I mean, you can't deny how good Alabama's quarterback is. I mean, he was just driving that ball like crazy. I mean, he's fast.
or you guys are just bad.
Okay, we'll find out. You play them in 3 weeks.
I
We'll
mean-
find out. We'll find out. We'll see. We'll see how the Polynesian pistol comes out after that one.
Yeah.
I
We'll see.
I mean, I'm not going to say that we were like Mike Bobo had the weirdest calls in the beginning. I did not understand it. We just needed to throw short passes and get 4 yards each time, but we didn't do that. We were trying to do crazy plays,
Just trying to go for it.
but no, it is what it is. It's in the past.
Yep.
We're going to
Yep.
celebrate ECU's win for Cole. ECU
That's
won.
right. That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go Pirates, man.
Hey, you're
Hey,
a pirate too.
I am a pirate. I am pirate. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm sorry. Hey, please forgive me. Hey, but speaking of ECU and Greenville,
Yeah.
doing a smooth transition.
Yeah.
Cole, you're here on the podcast. We want to hear about your life. So,
Sure.
what, if you could, tell the listeners a little bit about your background and maybe how you got to this point in your life, how you got to this job?
Dude, that's a great question. Thank you. So yeah,
Very vague, right? I mean, you can say
Very-
whatever you want.
take it wherever I want.
Yeah.
But yeah, my name's Cole Tillett. I'm from Greenville, North Carolina. Both my parents went to ECU. Very sorry I didn't go to ECU myself.
Mm.
I went to University of North Carolina, Wilmington. So we don't even have a football team. So I got
really?
no dog in this fight.
Yeah, but you're near the beach, so that's nice.
Yeah. That's right.
Mm.
We got that going for us. But yeah, I graduated in 2020. So right in the middle of the pandemic.
wow.
Yeah, and so I've been working for this company. I started back in actually 2019 before I graduated. So I started as an intern. I did like a 6-month co-op is what they called it. So started back in 2019 and then worked for them for a good bit, left for about a year to pursue other opportunities, and then actually came back. So definitely an interesting path there. But yeah, so
Dude,
that's a
awesome.
little bit about myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this job you have now, we won't get into the details of it, but it is remote, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. He's sitting in my office right now. It's
Oh,
our
nice.
guest bed. But
Hey, there you go.
yeah, my coworker is my cat that's over here. He
There you
usually
go.
sits with
Nice.
me every day.
Nice.
Yeah, he's employee of the month. But
yes.
but yeah, so it's fully remote. I only have to go down to the office like once a quarter, like once every 3 months. So I'm very, very blessed for that. Gives me a lot of flexibility to, do what I need to, chores around the house or just, I don't have to worry about commuting or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of benefits to it. But I think we'll talk a little bit about it in this podcast, but there's some downsides to it. You're isolated. You don't get to talk to as
Mhm.
many folks like my coworker's my cat.
Yeah, it's a positive and a negative.
There's a positive and a
Yeah.
negative. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, so just
At least your cat can't like complain to you and be super negative.
No.
And,
or it might be and you just don't
he's
know.
just chilling.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
behind on his quotas though. I got to work harder.
Just
So
killing it with the jokes. Yeah, I love it. No, yeah. So, I mean, we can go off that right now like one thing I was talking to Tucker when I was like, man, I was on the phone with him and I was like, okay, we really need to get Cole on here. He would be a great addition to this podcast. And last week we talked with Taylor, who was a cop, and he had a phenomenal story, and it was really eye opening for at least like for myself hearing the side of a law enforcement that I had no idea with. But you work in a job that most people do work at. It was more relatable, and yes, it's remote. But I was telling Tucker, I was like, man, Cole's a workhorse. Like, let's take the side that he's maybe not quote unquote blue collar job where he's like getting his hands dirty every day. I'm not either, but you work like crazy. And so I don't want it to dismiss that that's not a manly job. So now that you do work remote and you're killing it doing that, it's a mental health podcast. So how does that work with your mental health? How does your company do anything for mental health that way? How does being remote affect your mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, jumping right into it, it's definitely not the same as you were saying. Like, it's a blue collar job. You're not working with your hands and putting your body on the line and things like that. For me, it's a lot more time focused as well as like mental focus, and so that plays into your mental health, like you were just saying. So you're just making decisions all day. You're trying to think through problems, trying to think of the best solution for these problems that you're coming up with. And so I won't go too into it, but my company is across the country. So, I'm working with folks on the West Coast, the East Coast, and, you're trying to work with them and come up with, a solution that works for them and the hundreds of people that they also work with. So, we're a very large company, and, you're working with one team of people and over here, then another team over here. It can be exhausting because you're trying to, understand where those people are coming from. They're trying to do their job the best they can. You're trying to do your job the best you can. And it's kind of like a give and take. And you're constantly trying to, do your job, but also look out for your coworkers, because really y'all are in it together. And so it definitely, for me personally, it does kind of weigh on me because, I feel where these people are coming from. Like, I don't want to ask anybody to work extra time or, do something that is outside of their realm of, their normal job. So it's that kind of thing that, you kind of think through and you're like, well, maybe this is the best decision for the business, but it's maybe not the best decision for the folks that actually have to execute it and do it on a day-to-day basis. So it's a lot. And that's something I've struggled with. And for me, I work, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, sometimes trying to figure out, make sure that what I'm doing is the best I can, and also the best I can for my coworkers. Cause I've been in their shoes. I know it's hard. So
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that's, since COVID, that's the more jobs are remote, and so I think a lot of our listeners have that. And I think there's this like bad view that if you're remote, you're not really working. But that's not true at all. I know like you're killing it with there. And I'm for Tucker's wife, she works remote too, and she's killing it as well. And so that doesn't mean it's less stressful. Does it? Like, just because you're working at home doesn't mean that. And just from talking with Haley and now with you, Cole, I think people need to understand that as well, especially with our generation today, that it is still stressful, like you're saying, right?
I actually think I work more when I work from home.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
I was saying I go down to the office once every 3 months, and I get less done when I go to the office.
That's funny.
Like, I'm working more at home, because if you think about it, like I won't go into where I work, but it's based out of Atlanta. Atlanta's notorious for their traffic.
Yeah,
like
so
my coworkers. Fun. Yeah. My coworkers all say this. They're like, I could either, commute an hour and a half one way and an hour and a half back, or I could use that time to be working. And yeah, it depends. Everybody's different. That's for sure. But yeah, it can be tough.
Yeah.
So.
Tucker, have you noticed that with Haley too?
Yeah. It's like, you're more willing to answer emails, early in the morning, technically before your, work day starts, or like in the evening if something comes up, just because like you're there. So
Yeah, so you get
you're just,
more
you're
done.
already right there. You got your laptop or whatever. And, with Teams, she's got that on her phone. So she
Yep.
can usually, answer a quick question, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I feel like working from home for her, the challenge is like I am with people most of my day. So like sometimes when I come home, I just want to chill
Yeah.
and like do nothing. And like she's been by herself all day. So she's like ready to
Yep.
hang out or go do something fun. Like she's been cooped up inside. So I don't know if you experience that, Cole, but I know that's definitely one thing she struggles with about it. It's just
Yeah.
not, she loves it and
Yeah.
wouldn't want it any other way, but that's just been a challenge for her.
Yeah, definitely. It is. And like, I stop myself sometimes where I'm like, all right, I gotta, give my significant other a little bit of time to,
Right.
'cause she works with kids all day. Like, I don't know, she doesn't
Yeah.
need another kid like me coming in and bothering her as soon as she
Yeah.
gets home. So yeah, I totally get
No,
that.
I've noticed that too. I mean, like, so Cole and I, we've been like every like week we go and get drinks and just like and
Yeah.
just talk about life. And sometimes and like it's not being rude at all. I mean, it's your life. Sometimes you have a work email that comes up
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
that, and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, oh, I guess a work email. I got to respond to this, and this is like 6, 7 o'clock at night, And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like I mean, I'm a teacher and there's stress with that, but luckily I don't. And if I do have someone, I don't have to respond till the next day. But you're
Yeah.
like, oh man, I got to do. I mean, yeah. So because you're remote, you actually have to be more on, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But with that being said, is that we've been doing this podcast for a couple months now, I think, and I was talking to you about it, Cole,
Yeah.
and you opened up to me and you said, actually, man, I've never told you this, but I actually went to therapy for
Yeah.
like a little bit, and I was like
Yeah.
blown away because I mean I had no idea. So could you tell us a little about like, I mean, if you feel comfortable, like what led you to go to therapy and what was that like?
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's a great question. So yeah, I started going to therapy actually after I had a bad breakup.
Okay.
Right before, this is many years ago. But it was right around the pandemic. Still, like, it was still pandemic times. So you're still kind of isolated from folks, and I was in this relationship, didn't end very well, and then I was talking with friends and family. That's what happens after a breakup, and I didn't feel like I was getting kind of the answers that I was looking for. Like, I couldn't reconcile what happened in this relationship. Like, I couldn't,
Right.
you know, and to my friends and family's benefit, like, they don't know, like, they're not trained in how to deal with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
so I was like, I'm going to try and talk to a professional. I think there was a lot more focus on that through the pandemic, and so I'd heard about it over those past couple months, and was like, yeah, I'm gonna try it out. And it ended up being a great experience. I went to for probably about a year and some change. But yeah, so really enjoyed it.
And what was it like when you were like in there? Like what, like, I mean, if like for our listeners who maybe have never gone to therapy, but thinking about it, like what was it like for like during your therapy sessions?
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed it because, so think of it this way, if you're going through something, usually you'll talk to your buddies about it. You'll talk to your family, you'll talk to people that you care about. And for me, like, it was hard at times to, I grew up in the South. Like, it's hard to, express kind of like how you're feeling sometimes to people that you care about, because, they care about you and they want what's best for you. And then tell them things that you struggle with, and they're always going to think of that. And like, I don't know if it's just the, growing up in the South, your mindset, but it's like, you don't want to put that on them. And then also you don't want to, like, you don't want to impose, like, you don't want to
Yeah.
you don't want to be rude and like pour out how you're feeling about them. And
Right.
so that's why I decided to go talk to somebody. And I was very, very blessed with this great therapist. And he actually was from Greenville, North Carolina. He was from the area. He was a Christian. He hunted. Like, he was
That's
the most
awesome.
down to earth guy. Yeah, he was super cool. If y'all want to get him on the podcast, I'll call him up.
Yeah.
But he was super cool guy. And like there's that, he still has a similar culture to me, like growing up.
Right.
And so I was able to connect with him. And so he's, it's easier to talk to him. He's more like a friend than
Yeah.
a stranger. Start talking to him, and you feel more comfortable telling him about this stuff, because it's like this is his job. You're working with him, and he wants what's best for you. And you don't have to worry about 10 years from now your family members bringing up something that you were struggling with for a while and you don't really want to talk about. So like, therapy was a great experience for me, because they're also professionals, so they're trained to deal with whatever you've got going on. And I'd recommend it to really anybody. It's gotten so much more accessible nowadays, and the
Dude,
cost
yeah.
has come down. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know, Tucker, if you want to say anything, because there's so much what you said I want to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask, like, for anybody out there who's listening is like, maybe thought about doing therapy, maybe they've thought about, seeing a counselor, but they're like, I don't know. Is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be awkward? What is like one thing you would say about like, this was the best thing I got out of therapy, and this is why it's worth it to take the risk?
Yeah.
To kind of overcome that, that anxiety of thinking all that could go wrong with it. What is the one thing that you feel like this was the best thing I got out of it, and that's why I'd recommend it to anybody?
Yeah, man, that is a solid question. I would have to say they break it down, and they're there to support you, and they break it down in ways that are like, man, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
And they also find ways to make it a conversation. Like, you feel like you're talking to a buddy. Like, you're not.
That's cool.
It's a conversation. It's not clinical. It's not like they're like in the movies where they're sitting back and like got the notepad.
You're
Like,
not laying on a couch.
you're not. I'm not laying on a couch.
That's funny.
And reclined, and it is actually funny. I've actually been to 2 therapists. Neither of them took notes. They,
really?
like that. They're not like trying to, get every little bit of detail. They're trying to talk to you and gain that understanding of what your situation is, and kind of like help you think through it. Like, why are you feeling this way? And like, how can they help you? And it's not just like a focus on what other people are doing wrong, but they also try and help you think through it yourself so you become stronger. So like from an anxiety standpoint, like I definitely get that. Like, that's something that I've dealt with, and that was something I thought when I was going to therapy was how it was going to go. But really, they're professionals. They know what they're doing. They break it down for you, and they get you what you need, and they tailor your experience based off of who you are, which is
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I hear you saying is like, we all have like a conscious state of mind, like what we're aware of and like our self-awareness.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that goes on in like our subconscious
100%.
that we don't recognize as actually contributing to some of the stuff we're feeling. And
Right.
it's like a counselor kind of like lifts the veil for you to be able to see kind of what's going on in your subconscious.
Yeah.
Like almost like the root things that are tied to what you're feeling and what you're going through.
Yeah.
100%.
No, yeah. And I'm about to go on a rabbit trail real quick. I promise
go for
you
it.
that it's related to everything we just talked about.
We'll get there.
Yes. So, Tucker, I finally watched Inside Out 2. I cried. It was beautiful.
Dude,
It was great.
Okay.
I was gonna
Great
say,
movie.
However, I have one issue with it.
Okay.
And at the end, this is like after the credits and everything, I think, and it starts showing the mind of the parents. I don't know, Cole, have you watched it before?
I've seen the first one. I actually
Okay.
haven't seen the second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good. But on the last one, so anxiety comes in this movie, and it shows anxiety of the mom and how they deal with it, and then the anxiety of the mind of the dad. And Tucker, I don't know if you remember this part, but the anxiety starts freaking out, and then they take over and they go, just put football on for him and he'll be fine. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. And I was like, this is an incredible movie about mental health, and like they still discount mental health with men. Now, I'm not discounting mental health
that's true.
with women. Like it is real with women, but like even in this movie, that it was so good. I mean, I'm not gonna be afraid to say I cried. Like I cried in it because how beautiful it was. But at the very end, I was so mad because I was like, this is discounted men altogether. So the fact that you are a guy and you even had a guy therapist, like, did you get to pick that, or was that like, were you surprised to have a guy therapist?
Yeah, no, I actually picked it. So everything's online. You can search for
Right.
faith-based therapists if you're interested.
Oh,
Like
cool.
that's like actually one of the columns for any faith and denomination you can search for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I looked for that, and then you like filter down what you're looking for. Like if you're dealing specifically with stress or anxiety, you can filter that in people who deal with that as like one of their specialties. And then from there, it gives you a list. And I picked him as one of the first guys because of his bio was, he's from Eastern North Carolina. Like he's not, from some faraway place I've never heard of.
He was
I could have ran
relatable
into
to
him.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is nice. Like so Haley and I are like going through the process of trying to find like a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
Not because like we're working through anything, but it was like what Johnny said on one of our first podcasts. I don't remember which one it was, but he was like, a lot of people don't think about it as like a proactive thing.
Yeah.
Of like, you don't have to wait until something's going wrong to like jump in and do it. So me and her are trying to kind of get ahead of things and just like be proactive. And so like for us, we got a call with one Monday to see if it'll be a good fit. But in her bio, she was like in ministry for 11 years. So we were like, that would be great, because then she would understand, that whole side of it and what that's like. And so yeah, it's really cool, just the amount of detail you can get. And if you're looking for something specific, odds are you're gonna be able to find it.
That's 100%. Cool though that we're able to like, we never said this before, and also your cat's making an appearance in the background.
He's
your coworker.
Just hanging out back there. What is he doing?
I love it. But we made we never actually like talked about it, and so it's really cool that we get like how Cole, you're coming out here and like Tucker's also sharing it too, is like how this isn't just some random person. Like you can you can make it to where it fits your mold, and
absolutely.
And so like that's really cool. And then also what I want to talk about is that Cole, I know with also therapy, you've also have taken medication for that as well. So I just want to know, like, what is your opinion on medication without getting too much into details of what you're taking, but like what's your opinion on it? What led you to taking medication, everything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been on medication for, I think it's about a year and some change. So not terribly long, but yeah, I started getting on it because really I felt like I had tried a lot of different things. So, I started working out a lot more, 3-4 times a week. I was making sure I was working out. I was making sure that my diet was in a good place and trying to do that. And then I actually journaled for a while. So, writing my thoughts down, thinking through everything and trying to get through that. And like, after I felt like I had tried as many different things as I could, make sure I was sleeping enough. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I felt that I had gotten to a point where I was like, you know what, let me try it, because my sleep was was actually suffering. Like I'd lay awake and just think about things like I just constantly.
Yeah.
Whether it be work or just other aspects of my life with like family and friends. It was just constant.
Yeah.
And so so my therapist recommended a psychiatrist to help me with that medication. Met with them and got on first a low dosage, and then kind of over time we went either increasing to the point where I felt a lot better with overall my mental health, and like everything kind of clicked into place. And so for me it was a very positive experience because I was doing all these other things to make sure I was healthy, but like there was just this one last piece that I felt that I couldn't do on my own. And it was tough. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that like one thing you told me was that when you were hanging out, where I was talking about Tucker and I doing this podcast, you were like, I haven't told anybody I was doing that because like I didn't like feel like it was like the manly thing to do, you know. And I hate how that's a view of it, but like I want to say like Tucker and I are both proud of you for taking that, and for not only for medication and for therapy as well, and like because you gotta work on your own self, and you can't just like shove that like under the rug, and so I think you're more of a man for doing these steps and actually taking action into that, is awesome.
I think it shows like commitment and follow through to actually find a solution for what you're going through. Like you said, you tried all these other things first and it was like that wasn't working. So the people that you were working with who are professionals and who their job is to get you the best solution to what you're going through, like, they led you to, something that could help. And I think that's good. And that's not the case for everybody, but it worked for you. And
absolutely,
I just think it shows, commitment, follow through, like seeing a problem and not just letting it fester and grow, but like working towards a solution. So I think that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not just saying, oh, I'm too manly to do this. You're actually weak if you decide to, because like you're weak mentally if you say I was too manly to do this,
That's how I was for the longest time. Like I tried to fix things as best I could and just tough it out for a while.
Right.
And it like in college towards my senior year, I actually went through like a stressful period. I actually got like chest pains and stuff like that, like physical chest pains as part of stress, and like went to the doctor and everything, and that was kind of the start of that journey where I was like, man, I need to start thinking about this a little bit differently, because I don't know if I can power through everything.
Yeah.
You never know how stress affects everybody differently. That's for
sure. For sure. But I mean, I think you handled it like in the correct way. And, for the people who do not get the pleasure of knowing Cole Tillett, like Tucker and I do, he is the most positive guy in the world, right? He's going to lend you the shirt off his back in a heartbeat and not expect anything in return. And I want to read a quote before I go to my next question from Robin Williams. And it says, "All it takes is a beautiful fake smile to hide an injured soul, and they will never notice how broken you really are." I mean, and then unfortunately, Robin Williams, he was the most funniest actor, I know. And unfortunately,
the most funniest.
Yeah. Thank you, Tucker. I was going to like let that slide, because in my head I said that's not how you're supposed to say it.
That's nice.
Yes.
I got it,
Johnny. I've let
you've
let me
for
a lot of things wrong.
For a long time. Yes. He is the funniest actor in my opinion. How's that?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Words are way to ruin this perfect moment I'm building up. But so Robin Williams, great actor, right? He struggled with depression, and he said this quote because he was hiding it on his own. And right here, I just want to ask, like, like I said, you're a very positive guy. No one would ever know you're struggling with anything. So what would you say to the guys right now that are hiding it and are putting on that fake smile? what would, like, if you could go to them and talk to them, what would you say to them?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I would say kind of going along the same lines as like, Robin Williams. He's a great man, great comedic actor,
Right.
and everybody loved him. There's millions of men throughout history, and like I think Johnny, you'll appreciate this. There's so many historical figures where
Oh yeah, bring on
you'll look
history.
at their you'll look at their personal memoirs, and they doubt themselves. They struggle with
Yeah,
less self-doubt, but they're these men that we look up to, and are titans of industry or in history, and
right.
all throughout time, and it's not a new thing.
Mhm.
You could read stuff from 3,000 years ago. There's a lot of stories throughout the Bible through where people turn to God and look to find that strength, and like
Right.
it's you don't have to do it on your own. I mean, I think talking to your buddies, talking to professionals, and just being a better you, it all starts with you. And yeah, you'll find a way to get better. And I think, yeah, man, I think you just take that first step.
Yeah. No, I like it. Yeah, you're right. Wouldn't be a podcast with Cole if we didn't bring up history. So I love that.
That's
But
right.
Marcus Aurelius, right?
Yeah.
In his memoirs, he
That's,
talked about depression, and he was a Roman emperor,
yeah.
at the peak of the Roman Empire, and
Yeah.
he struggled a lot. I would love it if one podcast we talked just about him. We'll see.
Yeah.
But just this, but like what you were saying, Cole, is like, don't think that you're the only one, and don't think that no one, like, people who have it all together or don't struggle. So I think that's great advice on that as well, because like, and one thing you were saying was that going back to the reason why you went to therapy is because you didn't want to
Yeah.
burden people, and that's the whole point of this podcast, is that like we're trying to stop that, because you're right, in the South you don't want to burden someone with yours, and so men just are taught to bottle it all up inside, and I hate that that's a thing. So the question that I would say to you is that like another one is, how can other friends, so like, I had no idea you were struggling with
Yeah.
that when you told me, and how can other friends help out their brothers who are struggling with mental health, but their friends are not showing it? So like, how you are not showing it, like, what would you want to say to, if it was like, let's rewind before you went to therapy,
Yeah.
and I'm not discounting therapy, but before you went to therapy,
Oh, no.
what would you want your friends to have said or have done for you when you were in your most like moment of need?
Man.
Sorry, it's not
Man,
an easy question.
it's not, but I have stories about that, like in college, where I had a roommate, um and he actually just, I don't know how he could tell, but he'd just ask questions like one on one. Like, you
Right.
never want to do it in front of a large group of guys, because you won't get through to them. I
Right.
think in the way that you would in one on one. And I just remember he sat me down, and like he just looked me in the eyes. He was like, are you okay?" And it really got to me. I still think of that to this day. And he's like, just kind of asking some questions. He wasn't being super intense about it. I just
Right.
remember like he kind of broke down that wall, and I don't know why. I just talked to him for a while, and we're still pretty good friends. And like,
Yeah.
it's I think that's what I would say is just, spending time with your friend one on one, and asking them like, "Hey, is everything all right?" Like, just checking in, go from there. If they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to talk about
Right.
it. But
But don't be afraid to ask your friend if you notice something. Is what you're saying?
absolutely,
Yeah.
good point.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw just today, I think it was something on social media, but it was a study that Oxford University in like 2017, that said that men having like time to hang out with their boys,
Yeah.
if you do that like twice a week, it actually raises your ability or reduces depression, raises your immune system somehow, and then also can help you recover from an illness faster.
Oh, wow.
Like there's a lot of like health benefits just in general,
Yeah.
like even just, fighting off sickness and stuff, which I was like, that I would have never thought that being a benefit of it.
Yeah.
But, that's something we talk about on this podcast a lot, is the importance of like being intentional with your friendships with your guys, and like opening up. The more you do it, the more you open up space for conversations like what we're talking about. And, you mentioned that you guys grab a drink almost once a week.
Right.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's not always serious. I mean, sometimes we talk,
Yeah.
a lot of times we're just talking about what history fact we learned.
Yeah.
But then there's some times where I was like, hey man, like, I want to let you know this is going on, and
Yeah.
but it's because that we do that all the time that I know that I can talk to Cole that way, or he knows he can talk to me because we've already built that foundation. Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Man. Well, Cole, like,
Yeah. That's
you
huge.
have been incredible today. like I said, I said this last week to Taylor, and I'm not just saying it this week again, but you've taught me a lot. Like you taught me more about therapy that I didn't know. And hopefully for our listeners as well.
Yeah.
And like I said before, is like super proud of you for your walk right now. And you are a man for what you do. You noticing something and you decided, I'm not going to let my pride get in the way. And you're strong mentally. You're not weak mentally, because he did that. And so that's awesome. So I just thank you so much. We are so proud of you, and like can't wait to see, how this the rest of your life goes, because I mean you're going to kill it in your business and with this walk you're going right now.
Thank you. I can't thank y'all enough for having me on. Y'all are really doing amazing work with this podcast. Like I am so impressed with everything that y'all have been doing with this. It is so professional. Like it is, y'all got it down pat. Like it is awesome. I
don't know about it being professional.
You can't see it right now, but this microphone is on top of 3 books. So
I'm not wearing pants.
Yeah. That is awesome. I actually
That's
thought
the beauty of working from home,
yeah,
right?
I know.
Work, man.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that. That's hilarious. Yes.
That's funny. Well, we appreciate that a lot, Cole. And just, man, thank you for your honesty and vulnerability on here. It's much appreciated. I know it's going to help somebody who may be
Oh, yes.
in that time of thinking through, weighing out the options, and maybe
Absolutely.
feeling some anxiety about therapy or about taking medication. And I hope, that this podcast finds their way to them and they are encouraged by what you had to share.
Yeah. And real quick is to our listeners, and hopefully Cole's story encourages you to either share your story or to reach out to us, and so if it's for our listeners, if you want to reach out to somebody, but you feel like you can't, start with us. You can message us through social media, or you can email us, and we'll have our email in our bio as well. So don't feel like you have to do this alone. Cole had a great story about going and finding out he needs help and getting help, and he did. And I hope, and he did the right steps for that. And so I know this will encourage people. And so Cole, again, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank y'all. Really, thank you.
Yeah. Well, like Johnny said, we always put how to get in touch with us in the descriptions, whether you're on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening. So yeah, that's your way to contact us. If there's any topics you want us to talk about or anything you'd like to hear us share, you can let us know that too. But please just continue to listen, and if you find something valuable, share it with your friends, with your family, because that'll just help more and more men hear this message, and hopefully it'll reach the people that need to hear it. And Cole, we appreciate you coming on. So yeah, if you're listening, be like Cole, go be a dog today.
And be like Cole, and go be there for your dogs.
There we go.